hey, I know that guy. And he had his number on speed dial, or called up Frank at home, 10:30 at night, and said, hey, I want to do a Robotech movie. Let's do one. And my boss said, sure, okie doke. Hung up. Called me in the next morning and said, we're doing a Robotech movie. I said, oh, cool. And he said, what are we doing? And he said, well, you tell me. And that's when I said, do you remember love? And ultimately we ended up with Megazone 2-3 Part 1. And because of that, while that was happening, once everything was in place, I went to Japan to start working on the Sentinels. And it was like Thanksgiving, '85. And while I was in Japan working on the Sentinels, I got a call from Frank that I had to come back to California because they had seen Robotech the movie and didn't like it. And I couldn't understand how they had seen it because it wasn't done yet. And apparently they had been talking and somebody decided to show them a work print of what we had done so far. And it didn't sit well with the Canon guys because there was a lot of talk. I don't know if you know Megazone 2-3 Part 1, but there's a lot of mystery involved in it, why these things are happening and back and forth mystery and stuff like that. So our original plan was to have Robotech, the movie with the Megazone 2-3 thing, as what happened on the Earth during the period of time that the SDF-1 was in outer space between episodes 4 and 13. That was the theory. And so that's why we didn't have any of our heroes in there. And we were going to take some of the footage from the end of the episode 13 when the SDF-1 comes back and lands in the water outside of, I don't forget where it is, but it lands, comes back to Earth after being in outer space, and do that and show and dovetail them together. Well, they showed them stuff without the end of the Robotech movie in there, the Robotech TV series in there, and it got to be really confusing. So I had to quickly come up with an alternative solution. And they asked me to cut footage in from Robotech into this movie. And so I took footage from Southern Cross and I just blatantly cut and pasted it into this storyline to try to make sense of this unknown attack by the Robotech masters trying to figure out where the Robotech matrix was and all this other stuff. So we did it, and I actually presented it live to the Canon guys in their offices. They were in like a conference room with like empty pizza boxes and just litter all over the place. And I just got up and just did a song and dance for about 45 minutes. And when I was done, they applauded and they stood up and shook my hand and said, "Now that's a Canon movie," because it was going to have more explosions and killings and stuff like that. So, if you know Canon, they were the ones that made all these, you know, Charles Bronson movies and just, you know, violent,
Invasion USA.
Yeah, Invasion. You just did violent. They were like the B movie studio of the '80s. And they were very successful. They made a lot of movies, but so that's how it ended up being what it was. But now you know. Any other questions? Boy.
Is the movie out on DVD?
Robotech the movie you cannot get unless you live in England or someplace like that.
Yeah, it was previously available on VHS, and the only DVD release was in Europe. And that license has long since passed. So yeah, right now you're kind of limited to looking for collectibles.
Did you get Southern Cross and Megazone on DVD separately?
You know, this was something that we discussed with ADV Films. They actually thought it would be a interesting project to pursue that, since ADV had the Robotech license and the Megazone license simultaneously, if they could pursue seeing if they could work out something where Robotech the movie could be re-released. You know, obviously it seems like everything is in place in the licensing to have that happen again. But unfortunately now it seems much more difficult because the company has undergone a drastic reorganization where the vast majority of the staff aren't even at ADV anymore. So
I used to work at ADV for 5 years, and I helped initialize all those early Robotech DVDs and stuff like that. And that was one of the things we talked about. And I actually even wanted to take and redub Mospita and Southern Cross as Mospita and Southern Cross just to get them out and done too. And that fell by the wayside too because they just ran out of money. People came not.
they just did it seldomly.
Yeah.
There was questions about maybe giving you the chance to do what you wanted to do with Robotech the movie. Would you go back to it? There's been always questions in the forums about, what if Carl MACEK gets the second chance to do Robotech the movie with Untold Story?
Given the given the universe of material that I had to work with, it should be the Do You Remember Love film. I mean, that's what it should be, because that's really what the Robotech movie should be. If I'm going to make my own movie, I was going to do The Sentinels, which was, my own original exploitation of that story. You have a question?
Were there any other anime projects that you would have liked to brought to America to work on?
The only one that I wanted to do at the time that I didn't do while I was at Harmony Gold was Aura Battler Dunbang, which is one of my very favorite anime projects. And I was lucky enough to convince John Ledford at ADV to allow me to do that project about 5 years ago when I was in Texas. So Aura Battler Dunbang does exist on DVD. That was one that I really wanted to do. There's a couple of them that when I became Streamline Pictures that I wanted to do, and there's one that has haunted me for years, which I still would like to see done in English. It's a film called Arion. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie at all. It's probably kind of like the Never-Ending Story. It's a fantasy film about a ragtag team of heroes that band together to change the course of the world because of the gods of Greek mythology. It's a really great movie. If you've never seen it, it's a wonderful film. So I would, that was another one that and that's never been dubbed into English, so that's a shame. It's never even been released in the United States, which is a shame because it's one of the best animated films, feature-length films. It was the #1 Japanese animated film in terms of fan appreciation prior to Akira. And then when Akira came, it just dwarfed it, but no one even knows about it anymore. So.
Shadow Rising, nothing?
Can't say right now because there's too many things in the works.
Actually, I did ask the folks at Harmony Gold, we can mention that now that since Carl has moved back from Texas to Los Angeles, he's here, he is the the godfather of Robotech, and so we're actually glad to have him doing work in a Robotech capacity. We just can't announce specifically what it is, but as time goes by, you'll gradually be seeing more and more stuff from Carl.
I will be making stuff available on the Robotech.com. I'm trying to compile little documentaries about the history of Robotech for the 25th anniversary. So throughout the course of this year, we will be producing little videos that will be on the web for trying to tell the untold story of the making of Robotech. So it should be fun. And I recently realized that J.J. Smith is still alive, who's the narrator of Robotech. So we're going to track him down. And
nice.
So your thoughts on Shadow Rising, since you have a director already, and you're like a former director coming in, and how's that working out? I mean, I can see you get both of you guys,
Well, to me, what Shadow Rising is, in theory, is Robotech 2. It's like the continuation of Robotech, the storyline of Robotech. Whereas the Sentinels was not the continuation of the Robotech storyline. It was a closing of a story loop that wasn't fully realized in the Robotech series. So what Shadow Chronicles and Shadow Rising is the ongoing storyline of Robotech. But is it going to be a comic book? Is it going to be a novel? Who knows what it's going to be? But that's where I see the Shadow Chronicles concept as the ongoing story of Robotech. Because it really hasn't been good. The ongoing story of Robotech really hasn't been.
It's my turn, and he's like, we don't have no.
So we expect more through the year, more information, hopefully.
Yeah. Once somebody figures out what they want to do, what they can do. But anyway, that's it. So I guess we got to go because there's going to be anime